Welcome, everybody. This is Ray of RebelEars.com. Right now, I am with my partner, YL of Rebel Ears.
How's everybody doing today, man? It's been a great day. Rebel Ears YL here, and you are tuned in to the Rebel Ears podcast. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Yeah, so today's actually different because this is not a scheduled episode. This is going to just be randomly off the top of what's been going on between YL and I for 2020, getting ready for 2021. It's actually the day after Christmas, so happy holidays for those who don't celebrate Christmas and all that.
Definitely happy holidays. Hope you guys enjoyed your family. That's what it's all about, and we got a great episode for you guys today.
Yeah, so just letting you know, right now we've been doing a lot from working with the venue at 400 Northside Drive, shooting some of our episodes there, getting in touch with the building owner. Outside of that, we still been working on sessions. I know YL been working on more mixing and recording than I have. I've been focusing more on the lines of, the aspect of the social media, trying to get that more into play. But the way it helped us to, blend together, because we know one person has a weakness, one person has a strength, and we just blend it together. Like with me, I know for a fact I need to do better with social media, just like with YL. He is, in my opinion, better when it comes to social media, from stories, posting. And that's something I know for a fact I need to work on. But the fact is that he can help me on that. I can help him on any aspect that I might know from, when it comes to marketing, branding. We also got a banner coming out in the near future. Shout out to YL for getting that together. So let me ask you this. When it came to 2021, how did it really, impact both of us on the aspect of Rebel Ears and going forward with that?
2020?
Yeah.
I think more so, and this, I know a lot of business owners and new entrepreneurs can probably relate. I think it freed up a lot of time for us, bro. Like, we were able to spend so much time at home, and, a lot of people were not going to work, whether you got benefits or not. It just gave you that time to kind of hone in on your craft. And, just like Ray was saying, I kind of got a little bit more in tune with social media and posting, and, we were still working from home as far as building a business. And I think the biggest thing that 2020 definitely showed us is, with the correct time to put into your business, the sky is the limit. There's so much that can be done when you don't have to worry about your 9 to 5, or, you don't have to worry about the everyday distractions of leaving the house.
I do agree on that, especially when it comes to the time managed, because I've been talking to a lot of individuals who have their own companies, have their own businesses, and a lot of them been telling me the same thing. Some of them been focusing on their business. Some of them been streaming Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. You can, whatever's out there. And it made me think, okay, it's good on both ends, because, of course, when you're working on your business, of course, you want time for yourself, but you shouldn't, get lost in binge watching, especially when it comes to things you can get done. Like with me, what I've been doing, I've been watching this show called Schitt's Creek. It's actually a dope show. And one thing I do after every episode I watch, I actually do the Pomodoro technique. So the Pomodoro technique is basically implementing 20 minutes on one specific task. And you use a timer, making sure that you can, get that time correlated with what you're doing, and in 20 minutes you focus on that one task, and you'll be surprised how much you can get done, instead of like going from one show to the next show to the next show. You'd be surprised how quick 4 hours can go. That's like, well, one show that's for a whole hour could be like 4 episodes that just go by that quick. So out of those 4 hours, you can dedicate that's 80 minutes in those 4 hours. So it's really how you focus your time in on what you're doing. Day by day, I tell people it's good to get 20% done than 0%. As long as you take a step into getting something done that you're doing, then, it's worth it.
Definitely. Slow progress is better than no progress. That's something I've been living by. A lot of times, we all know that we can go harder at certain things. But I think what Ray was speaking on, time management, is very important because you don't want to overwhelm yourself too much, but then you can also reflect and say, hey, I should have put more time into this. I had more time to put into this. I think it's all about being well balanced when it comes to time. For the most part, like he said, 20% is better than 0. So if you can do 20 per day, then you should be able to pat yourself on the back, especially if you know that it's been days where you've done 0. If you can do 40 instead of 20, then, in those days, do that 40, do that 80, do 100 if you can. But like you said before, it's all about time management and kind of balancing out your time. And I think any entrepreneur, anybody working on a craft, a business, bettering yourself, your health, whatever that, you're doing for personal reasons for yourself, I think that, you definitely have to put your time into that, whether it's 20 or 80, as long as it's not 0. So that's a very good point, bro.
And one thing I want to thank you for, YL, because there's times where I feel like I get nothing done one day, and you'll be like, man, it's cool, bro. We're going to get it done in the end, man. Just, make sure you implement time. Outside of business, we're both family men, so we always got to implement our time with our family and then our time with our business and then our time outside of that. So, of course, you got to make sure you have that balance, because if you don't have that balance and you just focus mainly on your work, the home life can be very tragic if you're not thinking on what you can do. So I do want to thank you on that. Another thing is when it comes to both of us working on the website itself, y'all should go ahead and check it out, rebelears.com, REBELEARS.com. We got podcasts, blogs, free packs, and it's just funny how we first started, we just thought of like, okay, there's so much we want to do with the website when we first get it, and then on the aspect we do have it now that y'all can check it out whenever y'all get a chance to, you'll see the work that we put impact on there. So like, because YL, he takes care of the articles, and it's just funny on the aspect of like, we actually have our own team when it comes to the editing of the articles. He's the chief editor of the rebelears.com articles. So it's just amazing how we actually took the time to go ahead and implement, like when we open the website, we're consistent with the articles. We don't really have like an article that hasn't been out for like months.
Right.
Just staying consistent with that.
And just to touch on that, I kind of want to go back to what Ray said at the very beginning. We've been such a great team. I think from the short amount of time, we've been able to do a lot. Of course, it was more we wanted to get done, but having the right team, man, and, like he mentioned before, he's stronger at certain things than I am and vice versa. So, when you have your individual strengths, you can get a lot accomplished. It's like doing two things at once. And I think you guys should really definitely go check out the website and see what we've been able to come up with so far. We have a lot more coming for you guys. We have a lot in the works. And, anybody who've known us or, watched us grow this business in this short amount of time, I can honestly say the reason why we have the content that we have and we're able to try to be as consistent as possible on this content is because we're able to work each other's strengths and learn from each other and build off of each other. And, I mean, like I said before, it's like getting 2 jobs done at one time, man. So y'all make sure y'all go support. Check out the website. A lot of free things. Ray dropped his ebook, 10 Tips on How to Become a Successful Engineer. It's an amazing ebook, man. I think you guys really need to. Beginner engineers, mid-level, higher-level engineers. I think anybody engineering will definitely agree with all 10 tips that he's giving to people, man. It's a lot on the website. Y'all go check it out.
And with the ebook itself, like, it's not just a book I ran without having experience. These are things I learned from going to school at SAE that YL and I both attended at the same time, from interning and working at different sessions at Castle Hill Studios that both YL and I actually interned and worked sessions there. And then also things I learned from my mentor, Steve Hibicki, who's the lead engineer for Eardrummer Records and Interscope with Mike Will Made It. So it was a lot I learned from that point. But when it comes to the ebook itself, it was a way of, putting my insight and value in a free download for y'all to at least understand the steps it takes to get to the point we have our own podcast, how we set up the podcast. Like everything you're seeing right now or listening to from the audio, YL and I, we put together. There's nobody behind the scenes. It's just YL and I making sure the audio is, perfect. We set up the stands, we set up the table, we set up the backdrop, we set up the lights, the videos for the aspect, knowing that, as content is being, recorded, you want to bring content to those who actually wants to learn more, how to mix, how to record. And the 10 quick tips are something that every audio engineer should at least know or have some knowledge about. And then you coming out with a book soon too, right?
Yeah, man. I'm coming out with an ebook soon. 10 tips on how to just keep reoccurring clientele. That's one thing I've been able to pride myself on is staying busy. I have a few credits, but the biggest thing is, that like I said before, I've been able to stay busy. I'm always mixing. I'm always recording. I'm always at different studios. Shout out to Castle Hill. It's pretty much our home studio that we work out of in the kitchen. But I've been to a lot of different studios, running sessions, I've recorded a lot of different artists, have credits in more recording and mixing. And, it's like Ray said before, and I actually want to reiterate this, with you. Everything that we're speaking on is our experience. We've had multiple years in the industry so far. We've worked with different levels of producers and artists, and, we've learned from different levels of different engineers. And my question for you, Ray, for the listeners, and I know you can definitely answer this from working with Steve and Eardrummers and on a lot of mainstream projects, because in my opinion, I think experience is the best teacher.
Oh, yeah, of course.
A lot of people, they get on YouTube and they learn, which is great. YouTube University, shout out to YouTube. Mixed with the masters and different things, different platforms like that. A lot of people go to school. A lot of people have mentors. But for you, how has the experience and actually going through things and actually sitting through those sessions and talking to and being around those different engineers and producers, how have that helped you in your career so far?
Well, with me, I tell anybody, experience is a whole lot better than, watching a video, because YouTube, of course, you can learn the insights, but when you have the pressure of the session in hand, like, okay, good example. I remember when the first time I really had a session when I was interning at Castle Hill Studio, I was in the A room with Max Unruh, the owner, shout out to him.
Shout out, Max.
And he had this big time DJ Brodinski. He's out of the country, and he actually flew in Atlanta, and he had like this big entourage of different artists coming in the studio. Some was in the A room, some was in the B room, and it was like 20 people in the session. And I remember Max, I was watching Max in the A room as an intern. He told me, "Hey, Ray, I want you to just take over the session real quick. I just want to see what you can do." So the pressure was on me from then, because there was like at least 9 people in that session, and there was the artist just waiting for me to like mix his track because he was getting ready to record. And I was nervous for the first time because I was always like, okay, this is what I'm about to do, so go ahead and get ready. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I remember Max told the artist, hold on real quick, and he on the talkback mic, and he told me, just letting you know, the artist don't need to know anything that you're doing. All they want to know is when you're ready, if you need to hold on for a second, just hold on real quick. You don't have to give them insight on what's going on, because that takes them out of their zone.
Right.
So I started to notice anytime I go to a session, I see how different engineers work with the artist. Like sometimes it's like hand in hand, especially with an artist you're comfortable with. It's just like, all right, hold on real quick. All right, you good? What? All right, you ready? And it don't even have to be a long conversation. Sometimes you have that vibe with an artist that, if y'all have the hours in, y'all can just be chilling in the studio. But, the pressure is on when you push record.
Definitely.
And like I be telling artists all the time, well, engineers all the time, anytime you're in a session with an artist, if they're in the vocal booth, keep recording.
Keep recording.
Even if they're mumbling, because you'd be surprised, some of that mumbling, they can go back and use it as a harmony or just re-record something that they said that you didn't even know you recorded. Yeah, so when it comes to a session, make sure that you're ready for the pressure by experience, day by day. Even if you're in even if you're at home at the home studio, what you can do, like get one of your friends in the, if you have a home studio, get one of your friends to come through just to record, just to add that experience of the pressure, just trying to make sure everything is working. If something isn't working and you got to troubleshoot, time yourself on how long it takes, because if the artist is paying by the hour, you better get that session up within like 3 to 4 minutes.
Time is money. Definitely. I would say definitely on a personal note, once you went through certain experiences, you know, you got to get through the bad to get to the good. That's in anything you're doing, because you're learning. It's not an L, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. But one thing I would say is the best feeling in the world is learning something in the prior session and then that same problem popping up in a recent session or a present session, and you know how to fix it. Learning from your experiences that is the best feeling you can have, when you know for a fact that whatever you learn from that prior experience, from that prior engineer, from that prior artist, you know, whoever you're working with, whatever situation you were in prior, and you know, you're just building your experience. When you are able to overcome all of the fear, the anxiety, you know, the different troubleshooting issues, knowing that you've learned all of that through experience, and you basically had to teach yourself or get yourself out of those problems, and moving forward into your career, you are able to tackle those issues and tackle those problems with no problem. I think that's like the most satisfying feeling that I've had, definitely with working with different artists and different scale of artists, because the expectations are high for you depending on the artists and producers that you're dealing with.
I've been in a lot of sessions where an artist, because while interning, I saw artists literally take out different engineers after session. It'd be funny. I'm not gonna lie, it actually happened to me once. I was at Tree Cell Studios with Steve Abicki, and it was this artist of the Eardrummer record, Ears. His main engineer was there too, but Steve told me until his engineer gets there, just run the board. I was in the A room. The SSL board, like 64 channel, was amazing, but we was recording through his MacBook. And I remember Ears just wanted to do this quick snippet. Like he recorded like some backdrop, and he wanted me to like do some effects. And it was my first time actually doing his effect. And I remember the engineer just got in there. He was like, all right, let him go ahead and do it for me. And honestly, I can understand, because I didn't know what he wanted. It was my first time experiencing that. And then the engineer came in there and did it in like 3-4 minutes. And it made me think, like, you know, there's no hard feelings, especially when you in that high tier of engineers working with people for record labels. Because I see it all the time when it comes to like these top engineers working with these record labels. The record labels can tell you like to redo the whole mix. They can tell you to change the whole song arrangement. And Steve told me the pressure of working with record labels on the aspect of, you know, it needs to get done on the way they want it to. So it was no hard feeling. It's the business. So when that happened to me, I was just like, hey, man, it wasn't my time at that moment. So I learned from that.
You learn from it. I have a personal story. I would say I was probably like a year into engineering. And, you know, I was working, but it was a lot of different things that you would see being in the studio with different engineers and producers that you wouldn't see in school or you wouldn't see on YouTube. And I remember I was at Icon Studios, really just like a fly on the wall. And Cassius J, the producer, shout out Cassius J, he invited me to the studio. And, you know, like I said, I was still kind of new at engineering. And I'm watching his engineer just move. Like, his workflow was amazing. And I think his name is Here Mix This on IG. And just watching his workflow and watching, because, you know, a lot of artists like to punch in. And when I was recently, you know, not recently, but before then, prior to sitting in that session, when I was punching in the artist, it would take a while because you would drag this and cut this, and I was just watching how he had a template that was really just built for punching. And man, when I tell you a fly on the wall, I was just staring. I didn't care about who was recording. You know, shout out to Cassius J. He was a big deal then, but I didn't really I didn't care about being in the studio with him. I was just focused on his engineering. Like, this guy's amazing. And I kind of not really copy his workflow, but I kind of, like, experience-wise, I was watching his workflow, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out how I can move this fast, how I can, when it's a punch, most artists be like, one more time. All right, I'm ready. All right, one more time. Like, it's super fast. Like you said before, time is money. And just watching the engineer, bro, I was just like, and I'm like literally standing over his shoulder. And, you know, shout out to those guys because they showed me a lot of love back then, you know, me being a nobody. And when I tell you, bro, like, that was probably like the most groundbreaking session that I was a part of, that I sat in to actually witness. And when I tell you my workflow recording-wise, punching in, man, come on with it. I don't care how fast you want to get up in there. I'm going to punch you in before you can even say one more time, before you can, because just watching that engineer, that was my first time paying attention to his workflow and how quick he was and how efficient he was. Watching him and, you know, just kind of learning from what he doing and then putting my own swag into it and building my own template to where I'm comfortable in working. I think as far as recording wise, I've never had any bad feedback from recording, and you know, it was amazing that different levels of artists that I would come into contact with to record would be like, hey man, I like the way you record, bro. I love your recording. I love the way you keep it moving, you keep going, and that right there, man, was just so satisfying to me. And I literally learned that in one session. You know what I'm saying? Groundbreaking.
Okay, so I have a question for you, YL, because it deals with your book coming out, keeping consistent clients, right? So when it comes to like the key commands or quick punch, does it help you to like one session you might be with an artist, the artist bring his clientele in, the next thing you know, his clientele becomes yours because of your workflow?
Oh, yes. Shout out to Jay Green, shout out to One Swayze, shout out to Bouquet, shout out to Rue Millionaire, producer. Like, a lot of my clientele that I keep getting, you know, is word of mouth. Shout out to Miranda Man and DJ B-Lax. You know, like I said before, you know, and that's actually one thing that's in the book that we speak on is, you know, when you set a good vibe and you have a good workflow and you literally sit there and you learn your clients, now it's just like any other business. Word of mouth will always be your best promotion because you can take the best picture and have the best video and best promo on social media, and then people come and spend all this money with you, and they're like, it's just like, I always like to make the comparison, like, you look at fast food restaurant commercials, and you're like, I don't even eat fast food, but sometimes I look at those commercials like, man, that burger looks amazing. But me knowing that it's not going to be that when I get there, you know what I'm saying? I think the word of mouth promo and the word of mouth marketing is way bigger than anything you can get. And basically, man, that's how I stay busy, bro. I've gotten a lot of clientele, a lot of sessions from artists bringing their friends, producers bringing different artists because they like the way I work, they like the way I set the vibe, bro. Definitely.
Okay. And I learned from that too, because if you have a good workflow and you have good ethics, like if you're a humble engineer, like most of the time, I noticed from looking at different sessions, like some engineer, they know everything, but they have bad people skill.
Exactly.
You know, basically, you know, customer relations, because you basically dealing with different customers, and you got to understand, like, it's a business. It don't matter how good you are. If you have bad social skills, you're not going to get that much clientele.
Definitely. Another point in the book, I'm not going to give y'all the whole book, but another point in the book is knowing your job, man. When you are an engineer, you are work for hire. It does not matter what you think would sound better. It does not matter unless they ask you. You are there to follow directions. And I think, you know, I've been through it already in this small career that I've had so far. So I know the bigger engineers have also been through it. Everybody can relate to it. Is you get so good at listening to music on a technical standpoint to where you hear something and you be like, I don't like that. You don't like it. Sometimes you don't like the work that you put out, but what you have to understand is you are work for hire. If the artist and producer wants it distorted, then you distort it. You know, and I think the know-it-all engineer and the more opinionated engineer, I think a lot of those engineers have a hard time unless you're just super established, unless you're, you know, Jason Joshua, KY,
Grammy
Award,
yeah,
you got to be a huge engineer where people like, I want your opinion.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the know-it-all guy is the guy that nobody wants to be around in the room because that's what the producer is there for. You're there to listen to the producer. The producer will stand over your shoulder and say, hey, move that. Put that effect on that. Hey, drop that down. Turn that down some. Blend this. Do that. And you're literally following direction. That is your job as an engineer. You are work for hire. You are not there to create the project. You are not there unless they ask for your opinion. And like you said before, I think that's major in knowing exactly how to be a people's person and how to be a part of the team. Everybody who engineers, we all know we do the most work, but we are on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to that team. And you have to do your job. You have to know your role, man. Definitely, bro.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Also, as an engineer, if you're the executive producer of the project, meaning that you putting, it don't always have to be funds. It could be the time spent in the studio, especially if you're not getting compensated financially. You should be getting compensated on the points of the project in itself. Right. Like when the split sheet is coming out, you should be a part of it, especially if, you know, as an engineer, if it's under your label or is it at your home studio if you're doing all the work. Because, okay, good example. I can't tell the artist's name. He's a major label artist, but Henry with the 3, shout out to Henry with the 3.
Shout out Henry.
He actually mixed and mastered this major label artist's whole project, right? And the label didn't do no paperwork behind it. So he has all the rights to the project. Right. So they're going to have to pay him to get like, it's crazy when you starting to figure out, you know, the ins and out of the industry and understanding, like, as soon as you sign the contract, you literally signing yourself away. Yep. That's why there's a lot of these artists who not making a lot of money because of the contract they sign. Like a 360 deal is the worst deal you can sign. That basically meaning everything that deals with you as an image, the label owns. So if you have merchandise, the label gets a percentage of your merchandise. If you have your own website, the label gets, you know, access to the website. It's a lot that goes into it that a lot of artists don't even think about. But shout out to Henry with the 3, because when he told me that information, I was like, dang.
And to actually touch on that too, man, like you said, shout out to Henry. You know, that's why a lot of people are going independent, man. Like once you learn, like you said, once you learn the ins and outs and you learn the business from producer standpoint, engineer, artist, management, once you learn your craft and you learn the ins and outs of your craft, the business of your craft, you will really see that you don't have to sign yourself over, because a lot of these things and a lot of the things that's in these contracts and paperwork, you can draw up yourself for yourself. A lot of people, you know, they like to jump in contracts because they need the funding. But if you don't have the funding, you just need the resources. Build your team and y'all grind from the bottom up, man. You know, you buy your materials. Just like in the last podcast, we were talking to Devon Ellis Grant. Shout out to Devon. And he was just speaking on investing in your craft. You know, you don't have to sign to different labels as an engineer, producer, artist, or management, or however you're doing. You can literally, you and your team, you guys invest and you guys create your own label. And that is, I mean, that's a huge deal in music. Everybody knows it. Anybody that's aspiring to be in the industry or already in the industry, we already see that independent business is taking it over. Yeah. It is taking over. So that's another good point that you made, bro.
And a good book for those who, want to get more in depth, everything you need to know about the music business. I'm trying to remember who's the author of that book.
Can't remember. I have it at home in the closet.
Oh, you have it at home in the closet? Yeah. Yeah, it's a great book. Like Quincy Jones, will.i.am, a lot of different artists will go ahead and let you know that's a great book to, go through, especially if you're trying to learn about the music industry and go moving forward from different jargons you might not know, like cross-collateralization, 360, recruitment. It's a lot of things that you need to understand before you sign a contract, because as soon as you sign that contract, like you said, you sign yourself over, especially your rights. That's why there's this interview when Nas was on Drinking Champs with, what's his name?
Noriega, yeah.
Noriega, and he was talking about when he wanted to do a song with Prince. You saw the
yeah. And Prince told him, "Come talk to me when you own your masters."
Yes, and a lot of people don't even understand, like, why would he do that? Because he owns his rights. Prince owned everything, and even Michael Jackson, he owned a big portion of Sony Records. He owned Beatle Records. It's crazy when you understand, the paperwork, what you signed for, and what you can take over. Like, that's why Rebel Ears is going to be starting a publishing company in 2021, because we've been starting the groundwork of building the website. The website is out. We've been building articles and blogs, articles and posts, podcasts, packs for y'all to download, because we want to slowly build our catalog to the point, like, anything you want to learn about how to record, mix, templates, presets, mastering,
writing, everything you can think of.
Exactly. And it's a step-by-step process. You can't just go in thinking that you can have everything without actually doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And self-education. Like, a lot of people don't see the groundwork, the behind-the-scenes work, the different courses that we might upload for each other to look at and different things like that. It's a lot of self-information and self-research that we do for ourselves. And, we talk to different people and we learn from other people's experiences. It's always a blessing to know people older or further along in your industry than yourself, because going back to experience, you can learn from their experience. And, we've been doing a lot of groundwork. So just like Ray said, man, we have a lot coming in 2021, and Rebel Ears will be a household name very soon.
Exactly. And one thing I will tell everybody who's listening, like, slowly educate yourself every day on something that you're not familiar with or not comfortable with, or even things that you've been slowly researching on. Because with me and YL, we've been researching on social media, marketing, email templates, email sequencing, MailChimp, just on the aspect, like, as soon as you sign up to the website, you automatically going to get an email from the team saying thank you. And we're going to be giving away, like, exclusive books, exclusive downloads, exclusive discounts that you can't get without being a member of the Rebel Ears team. So the way to do that is go ahead and subscribe to the website. And then as time goes by, we want to get in touch with everybody who signs up to, the Rebel Ears website. As time goes by, when you get these emails, you're going to see it's more like a family affair. because we want to get to know each individual who signs up. If you're a producer, let us know what kind of DAW you're using. If you're an engineer, let us know your favorite plugins. If you're an artist, let us know like your favorite artist that you look up to that got you to who you are today, what molded you. And a lot of people don't realize, like, you learn from every walks of life. It could be a positive or a negative. It depends on you if you're going to take it in. Like with me, I noticed from, like I said, different engineers who lost their clientele just on their actions. And, you know, you gotta respect the client or the artist you're working with. Just because, like I said, you might have all these plaques and, you know, you're Grammy nominated or Grammy award winning. That does not mean that you could just talk down to people. That just means that your experience got you to the point where you are today. The way to move forward is, you know, your people skills.
Yep, and I don't know if it was Scott Keyclack or one of our instructors, somebody at SAE, one of the instructors, the thing that stuck with me the most, and this is before I even really started engineering, but this is it was after orientation, but somebody was speaking to us. I don't know if it was a seminar or if it was just in class. By the way, if anybody's thinking about going to SAE or, you know, different engineering or music schools, art institutes, different things like that, you know, do your research on your instructors. One thing that I prided about going to SAE is it was so many instructors there that had platinum plaques, that worked with huge artists. You know, their platinum and gold plaques are all around the school, so you can see the people teaching you are actually in the game. But one thing that sticks with me to this day that I'll never forget, I forgot who told us though, it was the music industry has a "what have you done for me lately" type of outlook. They don't care about you being Grammy nominated 5 times 13 years ago. The new artists and the new producers and the new labels, they don't really care about what you've done. It's about what you're doing right now, just like Ray was just talking about. It's about your people skills. It's about you being able to, anybody in the industry, we all understand how, you know, the digital industry has kind of taken over in a certain aspect. We all know the importance of analog mixing and recording and different things like that. But, you know, digital has taken over. You got to be able to move with the times. You have to be basically flexible. You know, you have to know how to deal with different clients and different artists and deal with different people, and also know how to deal with different DAWs, know how to deal with newer plugins, know how to, but also you need to know your history. You need to know how to run that SSL. But more importantly, you need to know how to run Pro Tools and know how to, you know, put these plugins together to get the sounds that different artists want. So I think that was a great point that you made as far as just being flexible in order to keep moving in this day and age, because everything is forever interchanging.
And I think it was Brian Michael Cox who said that. I think it was him. Yeah, that was at graduation. He said something similar. It was in class though, right?
We've probably heard that a few times because, you know, we can probably name a few engineers that we're not going to, but we can probably name a few engineers that we've seen the plaques from the 90s and we've seen the superstar status that they might have had in the 90s and the early 2000s. And now it's like, you know, some of them have taken a back burner to these new engineers that's coming out. And not to say a back burner as far as they're not successful and still not doing their thing, but
they letting the young generation take over.
Exactly.
Like the smartest thing an engineer can do, own your own studio. Like, you know, Mixed by Ali owns like the original Death Row Records studios.
Yep.
Shout out to Mixed by Ali, man.
About a month ago. Like that's huge. And I mean, well, going back to experience, we met Dan and Max. You know, rest in peace to Dan, but we know engineers that have plaques that have literally built their own studios. And the thing about it is, when your studio is thriving, you're thriving. It doesn't matter about the big names. You're going to get your big name clients. You're going to get the clients that like you for your sound and your work ethic. It's enough clients out here for every engineer. So you got to be yourself. You got to find your niche in, you know, what people want to come to you for and why people like working with you. But having that studio, I think that would probably be like a huge aspect. I know Two-May has his studio in New York. KY has his bass recording. Like, you know, a lot of these engineers, they understand that outside of me engineering my clients, I have to build something that's going to create my residual income, something that's going to be going when I'm asleep.
Yeah, passive income. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a home studio. It's closed for just specific clients because I don't really like bringing people into my household. That's why if you're going to have, like, you should have a commercial residence when it comes to your studio. So it doesn't matter who the clientele is as long as the studio comes out how you walked in. But I know for a fact there's times when a session can get a little crazy. The next thing you know, you have to replace a $10,000 mic like 2 times. And that's experience from, you know, different studio owners I know personally who told me that, you know, the artist got too crazy in the vocal booth, and the next thing you know, they got to replace a $10,000 mic or a $5,000 set of monitors in the studio. It's crazy. Like, people don't respect the equipment because it's not coming out of their pocket. I tell everybody, if you walk into the studio, treat it like it's your own studio.
Definitely. And, you know, a lot of that just stems from I don't think people realize, outside of, you know, engineers and producers, you have to be a real gear junkie, like to really know your gear to understand how expensive a lot of the smallest little tiny piece of gear could be. $10,000. It looks like it's only $500 or $1,200, but that could be a $10,000 piece of gear. That can be a $10,000 preamp, and you don't even know anything about it because that's not your lane. So the best way to just make sure that you keep your face card good, like Ray was saying, just treat everything like it's yours. You don't know how much money gets spent on these studios and even the panels and, you know, from the computers itself. You don't know how many computers have crashed in 1 year where they got to keep replacing these iMacs and different things like that, man. So just treat it like it's yours. It's all about respect. You want the engineer to respect you. You want the studio owner to respect you. You know, you want the artist to respect you, all of that. You know, you have to give that to receive it, man. So that's a good point, because I've been in some sessions to where I had to tell people, like, hey, look, you can do whatever drug you want to do in here. It's the judge-free zone. Get in your vibe. But standing on sofas and over here, you playing on this drum set and you're not a drummer, like, hey, leave the drums alone. You're rapping, that's what you came here to do. Well, let's do that, because if you bust a head on this drum, you don't know that's a $500 head. You don't know.
Exactly. Like, okay, good example. One of our clientele who we've been working with, this is just a low ball number for an A room. $20,000 just for the A room, right? And that's not including the equipment. That doesn't include the mic. That doesn't include the control surface. That's just the room itself to make it acoustically treated. Okay, now when we're talking about equipment itself, the equipment can cost up to $50,000 to $100,000, all the way up to $250,000 just on the equipment in the room. That's including the mic itself might be $10,000 to $2,000. You don't know. So that's why I tell everybody, you walk into the studio, treat it like it's yours, because, like, okay, you can accidentally kick an outboard gear on accident, and that's a $4,000 outboard gear that you're not even paying attention to. Yeah, so.
Mm-hmm. And you broke the knob on it. Another thing, this is for the engineers and producers. When you bring people into the studios, whether it's yours or whether it's somebody you know or whether it's just a studio you booked in the city, set the tone. Set the tone. A lot of people will give you professionalism that you give them. First of all, you want the artist to be comfortable. You want them to get in a vibe. You want them to feel great about where they are. But you also want them to know that this is a business transaction. We are doing business. If you want to do your album release and you got 50 people in here, that's fine. But hey, y'all can't stand right here and blow smoke into the speakers. Smoke back there in the back. Hey, you can't stand right here on this SSL and be rolling weed and you got weed particles falling. It's a way to let them know. But at the same time, be professional. Do not try to win your clients over and win your clientele over with trying to be homeboy, buddy, because like Ray said, it's a lot of money that goes into this stuff, and this is a business transaction. I want to be professional, you want me to be professional, and I want the artists and producers to be professional as well. So make sure you guys are setting a professional workspace.
Yeah, and then your homeboy will be there after the session. The studio owner might not. He might stop that session right there. You're like, yeah, you know what? Your session is getting too wild, so yeah, you can't book here no more.
Don't burn your bridges. Do not burn your professional bridges. Your homeboy will still be your homeboy. And, you know, just like Ray said, they still going to be there. After y'all get out of the session, y'all might go to the bar, to the club, or, you know, whatever y'all going to do after that. But the worst thing you can do is have a studio that you always go to, a studio owner that you have favor with, tell you, hey, I don't want you back here anymore because you do not know how to treat my equipment. That will break your career.
There's so many studios in Atlanta, Decatur, and up north that I can go to at times. There's times I don't even have to pay to book the room. Exactly. I learned this from Steve. It's crazy because right now he's in Wisconsin, And he was telling me, you know, the studios up there, they just let him in free for the aspect of they go get a plaque from him automatically. You can get a plaque for just having an engineer mix a track for an artist for their album and get a plaque.
You sure can.
Yeah, that's a tip right there. If you know somebody who got plaques, you let them record in your home studio or somewhere, and it's like a legit studio. Like you could actually look up the LLC or, you know, the business, the building code. What is it? I'm trying to remember exactly. It's a step to get a plaque for your home studio. Not as an engineer, but for your home studio. There's a way, we'll probably put it on the next podcast, but, you know, there's so many ways you can get plaques. Like, you know, I got a few for the projects I worked on. Not a physical plaque itself, but I got credit for a lot of projects I worked on. The funny thing about plaques, you got to pay for them yourself, out of pocket. Yeah, a lot of people thinking like as soon as you get a plaque, they just mail it to you. Those plaques be like $200 to like $300 just for a plaque itself to hang on your wall. Some of them be like customized to the point like if it's a diamond, that's going to cost like more than $500 automatically.
Yeah, probably so.
Especially like the design of it, because every plaque is different. Some plaque, you know, it'll just have like one platinum disc on it with just the image of the artist, but some of them they'll go way beyond, especially if it's like international plaque. Yeah, you're going to pay money for those. But yeah, man, so many ways to, you know, get credits, clientele, working at different studios, making sure you're, you know, work well with the studio owners, don't burn bridges. So many different tips we just gave out in this episode.
Yeah, definitely. And just to reiterate, do not burn business relationships. I'd rather lose an artist. I'd rather lose an artist or lose a client than for one of the studios that I frequent to tell me, hey, we don't want you back. Like Ray was saying, certain sessions I book at certain places, they know I'll come with a deposit because I require that from my clients. But certain clients that I work with, and actually, let's take it down some. It don't even have to be between producer and studio. It can be between artist and engineer. It can be between artist and, if you're an artist, don't burn that bridge with that producer. And he's giving you free beats. He's giving you beats that he would lease out for free, or he's giving you, you know, exclusive rights to this beach just for some points. You don't even have to pay up front and you're going to do them wrong. Do not do that. If I'm telling you, you burn these business bridges and these business relationships, you're going to set yourself back.
Yeah. And then with engineers, like, network with as many engineers as you know, because it's only a matter of time till that engineer has his own studio. He going to need, you know, the rooms booked out. And the thing is, you don't even have to be an engineer yourself. Like, I know for a fact, okay, this is going to be a quick tip on outsourcing, right? Let's say there's this studio that books the A room for like $50. Now, that's lowball right there, $50, right? You could actually say, you know what, I'm going to get one of my engineers that you have for your company to book the room. Let's say you have an artist in there, right? And they book it for like $80, right? So that's $30 that could be going to the business. So okay, good example. The artist might get $20. You get 10 off the bat for just outsourcing with that engineer. And there's some people doing that. A lot of people are not doing that because they don't think of it that way. You charge the A room for $80 for the artist. The engineer gets paid $20, the room gets $50, and you get $10 in pocket. If you're doing it right. So, you know, like I said, network with a lot of engineers, because I remember when we first went to Castle Hill Studios when Dan and Max was talking about opening another studio, and then I think, you know, they got the kitchen. Yeah, so it's only a matter of time until one of your friends who's an engineer owns their own studio, and they're going to need you to keep those rooms booked.
Producers, yep. That's true. Yep, definitely right. Definitely right.
Yeah, so this was a good episode of the Rebel Ears podcast. I just want to say, you know, of course, YL, thank you. Again, as always, that we took time to, you know, pick each other's minds on the aspects of what we got coming up for 2021.
Definitely. Again, thank you guys for listening. This has been a great episode. I hope you guys learned a lot. And for those who already kind of knew these things, I hope we kind of reiterated and retouched on things. You know, sometimes you just need a confirmation from other people. You guys are the greatest, man. We really appreciate you guys for listening to what we have to say. And remember, we only speak on what we know. And this has been another episode of Rebel Ears Podcast.
So, from everybody at Rebel Ears, just want to say thank you and keep tuning in.
Rebel Ears Podcast.